I opened a kindergarten that only accepts small animals as students. As winter approached, a tabby cat showed up at my door. "Excuse me, I don't have parents. Can I still enroll? If not, I can work as a security guard. My salary only needs to be one dried fish. If that still doesn't work, it's okay. I'll just go to sleep, and winter will pass." Later on, I always had a little paw print following me. Wherever I went, the little paw prints would bloom. I had inherited my family's bankrupt kindergarten. Because there were no new students enrolling, I decided to recruit a batch of small animals as students. When the neighbors heard about this, they immediately brought their dogs over. "This is wonderful. I was just thinking that Buster was too lonely staying at home by himself. Sending him here to you puts all my worries to rest. Teacher Silas, please make sure to remind my dog to go potty. There are little snacks in his backpack. Remember to only feed him one small piece at a time." Just as I was feeding Biscuit his snacks, I suddenly heard Biscuit's voice. "So yummy! So yummy!" "I'm going to eat a few more bites while the teacher isn't looking." I immediately snapped back to reality and took the rest of the snacks away. "No, you don't. Your mom said you can only eat one small piece at a time. If you eat too much, your tummy will hurt." Why can the teacher understand what I'm saying? I was completely dumbfounded too. However, I quickly accepted this strange phenomenon of being able to understand animal speech. I led Biscuit into the classroom. Instantly, a cacophony of noisy voices came rushing into my ears, all fighting to be heard over one another. "Where's Mom? Where's Mom? Dad, I can't hold it in anymore. Where's Mom? Quiet!" I could hear you all arguing from outside. This group of little kids, no, little dogs, was way too noisy. Unable to hold back, I smacked the table. Then, I took out a can of wet food, using both the stick and the carrot. "The best-behaved little dog gets to eat this canned food. Who is the best-behaved little dog?" Sure enough, I had all the little ones completely under my control as they obediently sat down on the floor. "Teacher, I want to go potty." Flustered, I hurriedly put down the canned food and quickly took this Labrador out to the lawn outside to take care of business. The first day finally came to an end amidst a flurry of chaos. That evening, the neighbors were full of praise in the group chat. The dogs had burned off all their energy at school during the day, so as soon as they got home, they fell right asleep. They didn't even have the time or energy to tear the house apart anymore. The other neighbors were incredibly tempted upon hearing this and planned to enroll their pets the very next day. Some had even already transferred the registration fees to my account. Early the next morning, the kindergarten welcomed 10 new students. Because the workload was simply too overwhelming, I had to hire new staff. As soon as the recruitment notice was posted, several people showed up at the door for interviews. The first was a burly man named Elias. I've worked as a driver, a security guard, and a delivery man. But because I looked too intimidating, people constantly complained about me, and I would get fired after just a few days on the job. "Excuse me, would you be able to take me in here?" The moment I saw him, my eyes lit up. He had strength and wasn't afraid of hard work. He was the absolute perfect candidate for walking dogs. The second person to arrive was a college student named Celeste. She loved small animals, but was a bit introverted and didn't like dealing with people. It was a perfect match. That was exactly the kind of talent we needed. The third was a kind-looking, motherly woman named Valeria, who was an excellent cook. Her interview happened right at lunchtime. Valeria effortlessly whipped up 3 dishes and a soup, complete with beautiful colors, tantalizing aromas, and incredible flavors. I ate until I was practically in tears of joy. I finally didn't have to live off takeout anymore. I hired her on the spot and put her in charge of our 3 meals a day. Just like that, the 4 of us ran the place. I had started up the pet kindergarten, and as word spread among the neighbors from 1 person to 10, and from 10 to 100, more and more people wanted to send their pets to us. One day, Celeste suddenly came looking for me. "Teacher Silas, Buster seems really upset today." Buster was the border collie belonging to my upstairs neighbor. I followed Celeste to the lawn and saw Buster lying listlessly on the ground, letting out a heavy sigh every now and then. I approached Buster and asked him softly why he was so unhappy. "A little brother came to our house. Mom doesn't like me anymore. I even heard Dad say that he's going to send me away." I immediately understood what was going on. A few days ago, Buster's mom had given birth to a baby and handed out celebration candies to all the neighbors in the building. Everyone was hovering around the new baby and likely neglected Buster. Buster was very sensitive and prone to overthinking things. But I knew Buster's mom. She would never send Buster away. I gently guided him. When Dad said he was going to send Buster away, what did Mom say? Mom scolded Dad. She told him he wasn't allowed to ever bring that up again, and she yelled at him really badly. Mom didn't say she didn't want Buster. He stood up and happily bounded over to play with Celeste. His head immediately went right into playing fetch with the frisbee. However, just to be on the safe side, I still sent a text message to Buster's mom, explaining Buster's situation to her. She replied immediately, "No wonder he hasn't been eating properly lately. Thank you so much, Teacher Silas. Tonight, I will have a clear talk with Buster and make sure he knows I won't ever give him away to anyone else. But teacher, how did you know what Buster was thinking?" I told a little white lie, claiming that I knew pet psychology and could analyze an animal's inner thoughts through their body language and facial expressions. That's amazing, just like the pet communicators on the internet. I chuckled softly and didn't deny it. The news that I could communicate with pets spread throughout the homeowners group chat just like that. Oh my. It didn't take long before people started adding me as a friend, wanting to schedule pet communication sessions. After accepting one friend request, an elderly grandmother arrived at my door holding a small kitten. "I heard that you can communicate with animals. My little Cleo has been eating very little lately, and she keeps running outside all the time. What exactly is out there that is attracting her so much?" I invited the grandmother inside and began asking Cleo. To my surprise, this was what Cleo had to say. "Grandma's health isn't good, and she hasn't gone out to hunt lately. Grandma's health isn't good, and she hasn't gone out to hunt lately. Grandma's health isn't good, and she hasn't gone out to hunt lately. I want to help her hunt and bring food back. Grandma never eats her meals on time. Cleo knows what it feels like to have a hungry tummy. It hurts so much. It hurts so bad." Upon hearing this, the grandmother's eyes grew moist, and she gently stroked Cleo's head. "My sons all think I'm a burden, and no one is willing to take care of me. To think that I've lived my whole life, and the one who cares about me the most is a cat." Listening to the grandmother, I learned that Cleo was a stray cat she had adopted. At the time, Cleo was starving and at death's door, lying in a trash can waiting to die. The grandmother had brought her home and saved her by nursing her with milk bite by bite. Rest assured, Cleo, Grandma is fine. Grandma only wants Cleo to be healthy and safe. Cleo let out a soft meow and rubbed her head affectionately against the grandmother. Cleo also wants Grandma to live forever and never die. Cleo is very strong. I can already catch mice. Cleo can take care of Grandma. Hearing this, my nose stung with emotion, but I still earnestly told Cleo that grandmothers cannot eat mice, and she didn't need to catch mice and bring them home anymore. What about geckos? No. Grasshoppers? No. What about snakes? Absolutely not. All right then, Cleo will be a good girl and stay at home from now on. After the grandmother and Cleo left, the room suddenly felt incredibly empty and quiet. It was so chilly that I let out a sneeze. Picking up my phone to check, I realized it was already late October. Winter was fast approaching. On this particular day, the moment I stepped into the kindergarten, I was blocked by a dark silhouette. It turned out to be a tabby cat. He stood right in front of me without saying a single word. But when I stepped left, he stepped left. When I stepped right, he stepped right, entirely blocking my path. "Can I help you with something?" I crouched down and asked, only to see the tabby take a deep breath. "I don't have parents. Can I enroll? I know I need to pay tuition to enroll, but I don't have any money." "If that's not possible, I can work as a security guard. My salary only needs to be one dried fish, or you don't even have to pay me at all. If that still doesn't work, it's okay. I'll just go to sleep, and winter will pass." The more he spoke, the more his confidence waned. His voice grew smaller and smaller until, by the end, it was barely a mosquito's whisper. I smacked my forehead. How could I have forgotten about this? I had heard Cleo mention before that winter is a massive hurdle for stray cats. On one hand, they face the struggle of going days without finding any food. On the other hand, they must find a place to shield themselves from the freezing wind. If they can't find shelter, it's highly likely they will freeze to death in the winter. Seeing that I wasn't saying anything, the tabby cat in front of me softly whispered, "I'm sorry to have bothered you." Then, he turned around, preparing to leave. I hurriedly called out to stop him. You can still enroll even if you don't have parents. Ah, really? Really? You can even call your friends to come to the kindergarten together. I'll go get them right now. In the blink of an eye, he had vanished. A short while later, he brought back 3 people. Well, 3 stray cats. The tabby cat stood at the very front like a big boss, introducing me to his underlings. This is the teacher. He's a very good person. Then, he turned to introduce them to me. This is Marmalade, this is Pearl, and this is Shadow. They are all my underlings. Don't worry, they are very well behaved and won't cause any trouble. My name is Dante. I can catch mice, catch bugs, and I can climb trees. I'm a really good fighter, so I can protect you too. If you need anything at all, just say the word. I was thoroughly amused by his little tough guy demeanor. All right, but I do actually have one request. Tell me. I promise I'll get it done. I need all of you to make it through this winter safely. The freezing winter made me realize that I absolutely had to do something. Without hesitation, I called Elias over, and together we built a small house in the kindergarten's backyard. We insulated it with 3 layers inside and 3 layers outside, placing a small electric heater and plenty of soft, fluffy cushions inside so the stray cats could escape the biting cold. Not only that, but I also bought several temperature-controlled water bowls. Just as I was busying myself in the backyard, Buster arrived, bringing several other small dogs along with him. The moment they arrived, the entire yard was filled with their excited chatter. Teacher, I brought a bag of new dog food. It's super delicious. Hey, adult, the one my mom has is still in my mouth. I haven't eaten it yet. Teacher, I brought my absolute favorite toy. I brought a fluffy blanket. It's incredibly warm. I was so moved that my face was streaming with tears. I accepted the things the little ones brought, but I also made sure to gently scold them. From now on, you are not allowed to sneak things out of your houses anymore. Teacher has everything we need right here. I said this because, at that exact moment, the parents in the group chat were letting out sharp cries of panic. The dog food I just bought went missing too. There's a thief in the neighborhood. I picked up my phone to explain everything to the parents. To my surprise, after that explanation, the kindergarten's backyard suddenly gained over a dozen bags of cat food, dozens of cushions, and all sorts of canned cat food, cat treats, and even little clothes for cats to wear. The backyard was getting so full we could barely fit it all. Some parents even wanted to crowdfund to help get the stray cats neutered. I hurriedly intervened to stop them. Thank you all once again for your immense kindness and help. Please rest assured, the kindergarten doesn't lack anything. We will absolutely make sure these stray cats make it through the winter safely. Ever since I opened the pet kindergarten, my previously empty wallet had started bulging again. I didn't save a single penny of it. I used it all entirely on infrastructure and improvements. Thanks to the enthusiastic word-of-mouth promotion from the parents, many people found out about our kindergarten and rushed to send their pets to us. With the kindergarten severely short-staffed, I ended up hiring several more people. One day, Celeste suddenly came running over in a panic, shouting at the top of her lungs. Our whole group rushed over in a hurry to break up a fight. The ones fighting were a husky and a golden retriever. I brought the 2 of them into the office. Speak. Why were you 2 fighting? The fact that I could understand animal speech was no longer a secret in the kindergarten, and the animals were more than happy to communicate with me. He said, "My mom doesn't want me anymore. Your mom just doesn't want you anymore." I broke up. The golden retriever was frantic. "I hate Dad." I severely reprimanded the husky and made him apologize to the golden retriever. Even after the golden retriever forgave him, she remained sullen and unhappy. Teacher, do you think Mom really doesn't want me anymore? I didn't say a word. Instead, I simply dialed the golden retriever's owner's phone number. Upon answering the call, the young woman was extremely nervous. Teacher, did my Chloe do something wrong? She got into a fight today. What should we do, teacher? Was the other dog hurt? Is it serious? It's fine. It has already been resolved. I'm calling today because of little Chloe. Chloe wants to know, are you going to abandon her and leave her behind? The girl was completely stunned by my question, but she answered truthfully anyway. How could I? I raised Chloe by hand, cleaning up every mess since she was a baby. Even if I break up with that jerk, I would absolutely never abandon her. Hearing this, Chloe was absolutely thrilled. But teacher, you said Chloe wants to know. Can you really communicate with pets, just like Buster's mom said? I didn't deny it, and the girl grew even more excited. Teacher, could you help me ask if Chloe is willing to live with me? After getting a resounding yes from Chloe, I relayed the answer to the girl. She is willing! That's wonderful! I'm going to come pick her up tonight. That evening, I saw a video on the internet. The girl was holding the golden retriever, sneaking suspiciously out of the apartment building's gate, and then taking off at a full sprint. A man chasing from behind was yelling, "You traitorous dog! You have no honor! Don't be afraid, Chloe. Daddy will snatch you back right now." Hearing those words, the golden retriever started running even faster than the girl, and the two of them quickly vanished from sight. Meanwhile, the news that I could communicate with pets was spreading like wildfire in the parents' group chat. Early the next morning, the entrance to the kindergarten was completely blocked by a massive crowd of parents. Seeing me approach, they all surged forward. Teacher, I want to know what my dog is thinking. Teacher, I want a communication session too. I was here first. Teacher, why does my Labrador always love to poop so much? I was dumbfounded, but I quickly snapped out of it and led the parents into an empty classroom. Everyone line up. We'll go one by one. Everyone will get a chance to communicate today. Because there were simply too many parents seeking me out for consultations, I straight up opened a pet psychological counseling room dedicated entirely to pet communication. The first parent to come in for a consultation was Rusty's mom. Teacher, Rusty hasn't had much of an appetite lately. Could you help me ask what's wrong? I nodded and turned my gaze toward the Shiba Inu. It tastes awful. The new food is so disgusting, I'd rather go eat poop. I truthfully relayed this to Rusty's mom, and a flush of red spread across her face. I'm so sorry. I've been making his dog food myself lately. I had no idea that was the reason. I'll go home and immediately improve my cooking skills. The second parent to come in was Jellybean's dad. Jellybean was a very adorable Bichon Frise. Jellybean's dad reached out to hug Jellybean, but Jellybean suddenly barked at him a few times. Teacher, this is the exact question I want to ask. Why has my Jellybean been refusing to let me hold him lately? Jellybean says you threw his best friend away, and he is very angry. Best friend? Yes, just like Jellybean, something completely white. Did you have 2 dogs at home before? No, I've only ever raised Jellybean. I asked Jellybean to continue describing what his best friend looked like, but because his vocabulary was so limited, he just kept repeating the same words over and over. Now I was completely stumped too, so I continued to gently guide Jellybean to give me more information. Does it bark? No. Does it walk? No. How could Little White walk? Are you dumb or am I dumb? Perhaps it's not a living thing. Not a living thing. I remember now. It's a plush toy. It's a stuffed toy I won from a claw machine. Jellybean absolutely loved it. He had to have it with him when he ate, drank, and slept. But when my relative's kid came over, the child threw a crying fit wanting the toy, so I gave it to the kid. I had no idea Jellybean loved it this much. I'm going to call my relatives and ask for it back right now. With that, Jellybean's dad stood up and walked off to make the phone call. The last person to come in for a consultation was Cedric's mom. Cedric was a poodle who was usually incredibly well behaved, a kind-hearted little fluffball. Cedric's mom, however, had dark circles under her eyes and looked as though she hadn't had a good night's sleep in a very long time. Teacher, when Cedric gets home at night, he always barks wildly at the front door. Once he starts, he'll bark for an entire hour. Why on earth is he doing this? I was puzzled as well. Logically speaking, he should have burned through all his energy at school and collapsed into bed the moment he got home. I first went to ask Cedric's homeroom teacher, only to discover that Cedric had been sleeping through his classes lately. This was highly unusual. I asked Cedric's mom, could there be someone outside the door? I suspected that at first, too. I mustered up the courage to open the door, only to find absolutely nothing outside. Even the motion sensor lights weren't on. I needed to ask Cedric personally. Cedric, wake up. I woke up the dozing Cedric and asked him why he had been barking at the front door. Cedric suddenly became energized and chattered away at length, giving me a non-stop explanation. I extracted the main points and relayed them to Cedric's mom. There is someone outside your door. It's likely a burglar, but this person is very smart. The moment he hears you opening the door, he hides in the stairwell. Cedric has been very brave. By barking all night, the person feared you would be alerted and didn't dare break in. After hearing this, Cedric's mom covered her mouth in shock. Then, can I still go home tonight? You can, but we need to prepare in advance to make sure he doesn't walk away from this. Cedric's mom called the police ahead of time, and the officers found markings left by the burglar near her door. After pulling the security footage, they discovered a suspicious person who had been constantly loitering downstairs. He would frequently look up to count the floors, seemingly trying to confirm if anyone was home. That night, at Cedric's mom's request, I stayed with her at her apartment. The police hid out in the stairwell, ready to catch the thief right in the trap. The hands of the clock ticked by slowly until it struck 1 a.m. While everyone was fast asleep, Cedric suddenly jolted awake from my arms and sprinted to the door. Someone is here. I hurriedly covered Cedric's mouth, preventing him from letting out a bark and alerting the intruder. The person waited outside the door for a while. After confirming there was no one awake inside, he pulled out his burglary tools and began to pry the door open with a loud crunching sound. The exact second he popped the door open, Cedric let out a low growl and lunged forward. The man realized something was wrong and turned around to run. However, the police officers who had been waiting in the stairwell for a long time immediately tackled him to the ground and slapped handcuffs on his wrists. After being interrogated by the police, it turned out this man was an experienced burglar. His target was the entire apartment building, but he was stopped dead in his tracks at his very first target by Cedric. Cedric is so brave! Hearing everyone's praise, Cedric lifted his head high and strutted around proudly. Then, he tugged at my pant leg with his teeth. Teacher, am I the absolute best little dog? I nodded my head. Then, can I have canned food tomorrow? Yes. On my way back, after everything was wrapped up, Dante was waiting for me at the entrance of the kindergarten, his eyes gleaming in the dark like high-beam headlights. Seeing me approach, he instantly sprinted toward me. Teacher, you're back. Dante did absolutely not miss you. I missed you too. We walked side by side down the street, one person and one cat, casually chatting. You know, my name isn't actually Teacher, but everyone calls you Teacher. True, but my name isn't Teacher. Dante doesn't want to know your name at all. My name is Silas. Dante doesn't want to know. Yet, I heard him quietly muttering under his breath. Silas, Silas. It was as if he was trying to carve it deeply into his heart. The following day, a strange girl sought me out. Excuse me, does the kindergarten accept kittens? I'd like to foster my kittens here. The kindergarten did accept kittens, but this girl was covered in bruises from head to toe. In the freezing December weather, she was only wearing a thin, flimsy jacket while clutching the only piece of warm clothing she had tightly to her chest. Seeing that I wasn't speaking, the girl grew anxious. I have money. I can pay you. She pulled out crumpled up bills from her pocket, all small change in denominations of 10s, 5s, and 1s. Because she was in such a frantic rush, the bills scattered loosely onto the ground. The girl lowered her head and earnestly picked them up, one by one. I let out a sigh and crouched down to help her pick them up. I watched as the girl's body suddenly froze and massive teardrops fell, melting the snow on the ground. I draped my heavy cotton coat over her shoulders. It was only then that I realized the clothes the girl was clutching to her chest were wrapped around a whole litter of newborn kittens. Because of the girl's large movements, the little kittens woke up. Each of them was brimming with energy, crawling wildly all over the place. The girl frantically scrambled to grab them back. Celeste popped out from who knows where holding a cardboard box and carefully placed the newborn kittens into the box one by one. Director, please just take them in. It's so heartbreaking. Elias and Valeria had also appeared behind me at some point. Yes, Director, please take them in. This child has a kind heart. Don't let her freeze her body in the dead of winter. Everyone was staring at me with watery, pleading eyes. I never said I wasn't going to take them in. Hurry up and get inside. It's freezing out here. Just like that, the kindergarten gained a few new students. The newborn kittens were incredibly demanding. Even Dante became overwhelmed with a flood of maternal instinct, guarding the kittens every single day and never leaving their side for a moment. Celeste, Elias, and Valeria came to check on the kittens dozens of times a day, but the one I couldn't stop worrying about was that suffering, emaciated girl. That day, after I took the kittens in, she insisted on giving me the money. I absolutely refused to take it, no matter what. If you don't take the money, I won't give the cats to you. I was forced to give in and accept her money. Valeria cooked her a hot meal, and Celeste gave her some of her own new clothes. I set up a small bed in the office so she could rest there. To my shock, the girl completely vanished the next day. We searched everywhere in the vicinity, but we couldn't find her again. Thinking back to the bruises all over her body, I was consumed by bitter regret. If I had known, I would have stayed the night in the room with her. In this freezing winter, did she even have anywhere to go? Dante suddenly walked past me. She probably won't survive this winter. What? She smells bitter. My old underlings also smelled bitter right before they froze to death. I panicked. I threw my coat on immediately and rushed out the door. Dante followed closely behind me, sniffing the air forcefully with his nose. We searched for a very long time but still couldn't find the girl. I squatted on the ground, breaking down into loud, uncontrollable sobs. What do we do? What do we do, Dante? Don't panic. Don't panic. I have a way. I can figure something out. And he really did figure something out. I watched Dante sprint back to the kindergarten like he was running a 100-meter dash. He called out Marmalade, Pearl, Shadow, and all the other stray cats taking shelter in the cat house. Lifting my head, I saw a massive swarm of tiny silhouettes running toward me with everything they had. Dante had mobilized every single stray cat in the area, dispatching them all in full force to search for the girl's whereabouts. He said the dogs at the kindergarten wanted to come too, but because they weren't familiar with the terrain, he didn't let them. Just as the sky was about to turn completely dark, a tortoiseshell cat found the girl. I sprinted forward following the tortoiseshell cat, and finally, beside a dumpster, I spotted the frail figure collapsed on the ground. I hurriedly scooped her up into my arms and rushed her to the hospital. Thankfully, we brought her in just in time, and her life was no longer in danger. Only then did I learn that the girl's name was Aurora, and she was an orphan. She suffered from severe depression. But right as she was lying in the snow waiting to die, she suddenly heard the faint, desperate cries of newborn kittens. She brushed the snow aside and discovered that the mother cat had frozen to death at some point, leaving behind several pitiful little kittens. Weeping as she spoke, Aurora told me how she dragged herself up, gathered the newborn kittens into her embrace, and used her own body heat to keep them alive. I figured I could wait until they were safe, and it still wouldn't be too late for me to leave. No, I interrupted the girl. What makes you think they are safe right now? What if I'm a terrible person, and the moment you're gone, I throw them back outside to freeze to death? You wouldn't do that. You can't be sure of that. You don't know me. You can't do that. Exactly. So you have to keep an eye on me at all times. Keep living until they are truly safe. Aurora cried again, but this time, there was no endless despair in the depths of her eyes. Later on, the kindergarten gained a child laborer named Aurora. Together, we stayed at the kindergarten, making it through the rest of the winter. Spring was on its way. The newborn kittens grew and changed remarkably every single day. Of course, the biggest change was that they became extremely noisy. After opening their eyes, they treated Aurora as their mother, tailing closely behind her every single day. Or, they would swarm around me asking all sorts of questions, acting just like human toddlers. But it was quite fun, too. To my surprise, when spring finally arrived, the entrance to the kindergarten was swarmed with people. They were all here to enroll their pets. It wasn't just cats and dogs anymore. Parents brought along parrots, turtles, spiders, and more. As the director of the kindergarten, I was completely accustomed to this kind of scene. I systematically led the parents into the school, and then, based on the type of pet, guided them into different classrooms. Sticking strictly to the kindergarten's admission standards, I enrolled the pets that fit our criteria. After getting all of this done, I clapped my hands together and rewarded myself with a massive feast. Right as I was savoring the delicious food, a teacher's shrill scream echoed through the kindergarten. I rushed out immediately, only to see an American Shorthair holding the parrot from the next class in its mouth. Before I even had the chance to intervene, Dante materialized in front of the American Shorthair and slapped it hard across the face. How many times do I have to say it? You cannot eat your classmates! Spit it out, right now! The American Shorthair reluctantly opened its mouth. Thankfully, the parrot wasn't seriously hurt, and it frantically flapped its wings and flew off. The scare had completely drenched my back in cold sweat. That very same day, I immediately called in a construction crew to completely partition off the outdoor activity areas for each individual class. I also bought tons of realistic simulation toys for the animals with hunting instincts to play with. Dante voluntarily stepped up as the captain of the patrol squad. Whenever he caught any sign of a student trying to eat a classmate, he would instantly deliver a swift smack with his paw. With his help, my job became significantly easier. To appease the parrots' parents, I personally brought gifts to their home to apologize. Dante, worried that I was going to get beaten up, stuck to my side and went with me, refusing to step away for even a second. However, the parrot's parents didn't hold it against me too heavily. Instead, they even invited me to stay for dinner. On the walk back to the kindergarten, my mind was entirely focused on thinking of ways to make the kindergarten even better. Dante walked silently by my side. Suddenly, he started looking back over his shoulder frequently, and I quickly took notice. What's wrong? It feels like someone is following us, but then again, maybe not. Maybe my senses are wrong? Anxiously, I looked back over my shoulder, but there was absolutely no one behind us. I wiped the cold sweat from my forehead, assuming I was just scaring myself. Seeing that we were getting closer and closer to the kindergarten gates, I let my guard down. Just then, a crunching sound echoed from right behind me. Dante instantly went on high alert, his tail puffing up as he snapped his head back. But before he could even react, he was brutally kicked several meters away. At the exact same moment, someone clamped their arm around my neck from behind in a tight chokehold. Aren't you a capable one? You can do pet communication, right? Well then, go ahead and communicate now. Let's see who is going to come save you. His voice was incredibly familiar. I instantly recognized it. It was the burglar that Cedric had discovered. I had no idea he had gotten out of jail so quickly. His strength was overpowering, and the air in my lungs was being completely squeezed out bit by bit. I relentlessly elbowed him in the ribs, but it hardly did any good. Right before my vision blurred, I saw Dante staggering to his feet, trying to charge forward. Dante, run! But Dante didn't listen to me this time. He charged straight toward me, gathered his strength, and leaped into the air. Dante slashed his claws straight into the man's eyeball. I heard the man behind me let out a blood-curdling scream, and the crushing grip on my neck loosened slightly. I immediately struck backward with a low blow, and the man let out another agonizing shriek. As he completely let go, I scooped Dante up in my arms and sprinted madly toward the kindergarten. The man pursued us relentlessly, hot on my heels. The distance between us was only a few meters. My stamina was poor, and he was rapidly catching up. The man pulled out a dagger from who knows where and thrust it directly into my back. A searing, fiery pain exploded across my back instantly. Stumbling forward, I crashed to the ground. As I saw the man bringing the knife down for a second strike, I shielded Dante tightly in my arms and squeezed my eyes shut. Right at that exact second, the lights of the kindergarten flared on. Cedric was the first to charge out, barking wildly. Immediately after, a chaotic clamor of voices erupted from the classroom. I'm coming to save you right now. I was saved. Seeing a massive pack of dogs charging straight toward him, the man instantly turned and bolted. But no matter how fast he ran, he could never outrun the dogs. In less than a minute, he was overwhelmed and tackled to the ground. Just then, a crowd of parents rushed out, screaming in shock. Yes, call an ambulance first! The teacher is hurt! Stop the bleeding first! I'm a nurse. Hurry and grab the first aid kit. Lying on the ground, all I saw was stars dancing in my vision. My heart pounded, and my head spun dizzily. Summoning the very last ounce of my strength, I screamed out, "Save Dante first!" Then, I completely passed out. When I woke up, my hospital bed was entirely surrounded by people. Where's Dante? He's fine. The doctor said they were just superficial wounds. All he needed was some bandages. Hearing this news, the heavy stone pressing on my heart finally dropped. I was the one who let him stay at the kindergarten in the first place, and I had promised that I would be entirely responsible for him. What about Cedric's mom? Is she okay? That burglar held a deep grudge. I didn't know if he had gone to hurt Cedric's mom before he came hunting for me. She's perfectly fine. She happened to be away from home that day, so she dodged a bullet. That's a relief. That burglar has already been taken away by the police. He committed intentional assault, so there's no way he's getting out without spending years in prison. Besides, by the time the police arrived, the dogs had already bitten him until he was covered in cuts and bruises, bleeding all over. He was howling in agony for the entire night. I nodded my head to show that I understood. However, I'm extremely curious. What were all of you doing at the kindergarten so late at night? The whole group scratched their heads, stammering and unable to give a clear answer. Finally, it was Aurora who told me. Yesterday was your birthday. Your parents are overseas, so you were all alone. Everyone wanted to celebrate your birthday, so we hid inside the classroom to throw you a surprise. We never expected that you would run into a bad guy outside. Not only did you not get to celebrate your birthday, but you also ended up in the hospital. So that was what happened. I had completely forgotten that yesterday was my birthday. Seeing the awkward, guilty expressions on everyone's faces, I broke into a wide smile. It's never too late for a do-over. I'll pick a good date, and we can all celebrate together. Let's make it 3 days from now, the 6-month anniversary of the kindergarten's opening. 3 days later, I snuck out of the hospital and returned to the pet kindergarten. Dante was the very first one to rush out and welcome me. Silas, Dante was not worried about you at all. I know. I was incredibly worried about Dante too. Dante let out a small humph and held his head high as he led the way in front of me. The moment I stepped into the classroom, party poppers went off with a loud bang and colorful confetti filled the air, painting an absolutely beautiful scene. I felt so happy and blessed. Valeria wheeled out the cake and lit the candles. I clasped my hands together in front of my chest to make a wish. I wished that the pet kindergarten would continue to thrive and get better, and that every single animal would live out their days safe and sound. Thanks for watching this incredible story. If you enjoyed it, please like the video and subscribe to the channel for more amazing stories uploaded regularly. Have a great day, and we'll see you in the next story.